Good afternoon, everybody. This is Chris Scully and Matt Winslow from Drive. And today we have special guests, Cassey Croel from Drive, who's instructing the sales training for Collision Shops workshop, and Shawn Goldthwaite from Bunting's Auto Body. How you guys doing?
Good.
Awesome.
All right. So let's talk about sales and collision shops. It's an interesting subject to me. I know I've taught this workshop a few times, and there's always interesting stories and reactions from shop owners. I want to start with Shawn, because I know you've done this workshop and you've sent a couple of guys to do it, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about you personally as a collision shop owner, your viewpoint about sales before and after doing this training.
Yeah. Well, I had previously no sales training. So I was coming in pretty green and I didn't realize there was so much to it. After I took the course, there's a lot of things I learned. Some of the things I did intuitively and some of the things I didn't, that I had, it was like a learned thing, but I've always been able to get along with people well, and even if they're a lot different than me. So one of the things about the course I remember is one of the most important thing was finding common ground with who you're talking to, and looking for, I remember in the class, the example was like even a bumper sticker that had the name of a sports team on it or something that you could relate to, and that you could talk to them on a different level, like, hey, oh, I love the Patriots too, or whoever it is, that kind of a thing. So that was one of the more important things I learned from the class, was just relate to someone as a human being. When you're not just trying to sell to them, but on that aspect as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, and it's good to hear it from the shop side, the shop perspective anyway, because one of the things that I think is really important for any business, but particularly in a shop, is you've got to build trust. The whole point of selling, especially for a collision shop, is you've got to capture that car. And
right.
If you can't build rapport, you can't build trust, then you're not going to get that. And the example that you gave is a great one. Just finding some common ground that you can open the conversation with is a really good technique. And Cassey, how important is it for a shop to build that communication with a customer right at the beginning?
I do believe it's the difference between capturing the work and possibly not capturing the work. And you have to understand, someone coming in has had a bad experience and you're there to replace it with a good one. So they need to, as you said, Chris, walk away with trust and confidence that not only are you going to replace the vehicle and make it safe, but you're going to take all of the details and the minutia that comes with working with collision insurance companies off of their hands.
Great. Insurance companies. I don't know about you, but I've personally never had to, probably should knock wood here, never had to actually deal with an accident insurance claim. But I know, Shawn, you deal with it all the time, and I personally would not want to deal with them. How do you assure a customer that they're going to be taken care of on that front?
Well, I do warn them and let them know that it's not always easy negotiating with insurance companies. They have their point of view and we have ours, but I do assure them that we're going to fix their car correctly, no matter what, and we're going to do our best to work with them And I mean, that's what we have to do. That's our job. I mean, so that's how I approach it.
What are some of the things that you hear from insurance companies when you're dealing with them that you have to kind of overcome in the process? Objections to, you know, your bills or anything like that? What are some of the more common things?
That we are higher priced, or yeah, others their shops will do it their way, and I've actually had insurance companies say that, you know, they're going to pull this car from us and give it to one of their shops, and it's like, well, you can't do that because you don't own this car.
Yeah,
This
right.
is, you know, I think insurance companies lose sight of that too. You know, like, they don't own that car.
Mm-hmm.
That's the person who, and they bring it to me. Unless they want to pull that car's not leaving, you know.
Right. And now, Cassey, we have some handlings for things like this in the workshop, right?
We do.
Hey, can I jump in here just real quick?
Yes,
So,
please do.
by the way, I know the guy that started the All-State Negotiation School that taught it, and they actually teach their adjusters to make up all that kind of stuff, because the vast majority of shops go, oh, okay.
Right.
It's not reality. It's just, you know, well, we never pay for that. They're taught to say that automatically, even though they just paid for it on the last deal. So, you know, part of it is just, well, I understand, and then you just move on. But I want to go back to Cassey and Shawn. Cassey, I love watching you just present. It's amazing. Can you just share some of the, you know, the tidbits you're super excited about sharing next week with us?
Well, the customer service angle, I think, is key. And it's even more so in collision, because you're not going to have people coming back every 3 months for an oil change. And, you know, as far, they expect this to be a one-time deal in their mind, as far as, you know, having their car repaired. So really, you know, building rapport with them, really capturing the work is key. But the back end of that is, once you get the work, you know, to be able to maintain your own shop and to pay your own bills, dealing with the insurance companies. You know, that's the part that is, the handling's there, learning how to build the estimate, so that maybe if you don't get one thing that you're looking for, there's other things on that list that you can address. And it's looking over the overall profitability of the estimate instead of just one portion. So, you know, I think there's a lot from the front, even getting the customer in, there's a lot in this workshop. But then once you do the process, there's a lot that we have to discuss as well.
You know, one of the things I love that you focus on is you make this statement that, you know, a lot of body shop owners get all sideways about what insurance says they won't pay for. But in reality, if we just collected what they would pay for by writing a proper estimate, it would dramatically improve the bottom line. And also, you teach negotiation skills, which I think are great.
Yeah, that's really important. And you know, one of the things that Cassey mentioned that we could probably do the rest of the show on, and still not cover everything in the workshop, and it's so important, is that customer service and that care factor for the customer. So often in dealing with people in this industry, let's be honest, the customer experience isn't good. And the shops that really want to set themselves apart, that really want to capture the most business, and I'm not talking about marketing or getting the cars in, I'm talking about actually capturing them and doing the work, are the ones that care about their customers and are really good at providing a good customer experience. And that's a major part of the workshop. Cassey and I talked about this just a little while ago, and that what she mentioned is really critical. Now, Shawn, talk about how you guys approach that at your shop as far as the care factor, the customer experience, and what you've learned from on that point.
Well, being in a smaller shop, there's definitely, like, I don't want to use the word well, I don't know if I can use the word intimacy, but there's definitely a closer bond with someone that lives down the street from you than there is if you're going into the city and you're going to a place you've never seen or talked to anyone there. So automatically you start out, you know, State Farm likes to say they're like a good neighbor. We are a good neighbor, you know, we are your neighbor, you know. So I think on just a personal level there, that's where that care starts. But I also like to explain, or have my estimator explain, a lot of the processes, what they're going to hear from the insurance companies, and just try to break it down so that they're prepared when the insurance company tells them, tries to scare them into going to one of their preferred shops.
Yeah, that, you know, I can't think of a better customer service angle than actually educating the customer on what to expect. That's great.
Yeah.
What, Cassey, are there any other customer service nuggets that you'd like to talk about when it comes to collision shops and working with their customers and capturing the vehicle?
Well, I just thought about it as we were talking, as I was saying that, you know, customers only use collision shops how many times in their life? Well, the flip side of that is that an estimator could see this as, you know, what's the chances I was ever going to see this person again anyway? But you have to remember that person has friends,
Right.
you know, and in collision, that's big. So whatever that experience is with the person who was in front of you, you don't know how that reverberates to 5, 6, 7 other people. So it really is the attitude the shop takes, and that's it. That's the mantra. And really the customers just bounce off of your mantra. And that's just something that I think that all shops should know. And then the workshop gives you the tools of how to use that, how to communicate, you know, what are some methods, what are some handlings, but always coming from the place of, we're here to help.
You know, one
And
thing that,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Chris,
No,
one
go
thing
ahead.
that Cassey says in the workshop, and I know, Shawn, you've got this mastered, is when they walk in the door the first time, they're the insurance company's customer. But by the time you get done with that first contact, they're now your customer. And now they, you know, they understand that you're their advocate, you're working for them, and you've converted them again from just some body shop on a listing to the person that's going to solve their problem, meet their needs, and fight for them. And I think that's just so powerful.
Absolutely. Now, how does that, if you do this well, how does that affect things like your reviews, referrals? What's the long-term effect?
Well, I just, for an example, today I had a lady come in and I actually recognized her. She hadn't been in since 2014, and I actually I remember talking about dogs with her and other stuff, and you know, I built a rapport with her, and so we had done this job, and she had wanted us to do a detail on her car, and for whatever reason at that point my processes weren't that great, and I forgot. And she went, and she didn't live close, and she picked the car up and she was very angry with me, and I really worked hard, and I took her car back in when she could do it. I did it all for free. I spent probably a day detailing her car and gave it to her. And she came in the door like she was like my best friend today, because her car, someone had hit her in a parking lot. And it was just like, man, even though I totally screwed that up, you know, 8 years ago, it still was a good enough experience where she wanted to come back to me.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Actually, that's a great lesson, because so many times, you know, we try to have everything perfect, but we all know that we all make mistakes, and every shop employee is going to make mistakes. But if you take those mistakes and you turn them into a good experience anyway, that's what matters to the customer. And now, how does was I gonna? So the whole process of dealing with the customer up to the point where you give them the car back, how much sales is involved in all of that?
Well, once you get through the initial part, if they have the buy-in, they like you, they think they know you're gonna do a good job or whatever. I think the sales part is kind of over. I mean, you're just helping them along with the process. You're not really selling them anymore, you know.
What about dealing with the insurance companies?
Well, the insurance company is a different story. You're having to negotiate with them and sell them on what you have to do to the job. So I mean, you're still having to sell your work to the insurance company, but as far as the customer goes, they're already sold. They think you're going to do a great job.
Right. And go ahead, Cassey.
No, I just wanted to add that that's your
that-
asset.
Right.
That's the asset that you use to leverage with the insurance company is your relationship with the customer. And understand that that's going to benefit the customer. So this is not in any way any kind of manipulation.
Mhm.
And so with that, I mean, they can only say no to the customer, which they can't. So they can try to say no to you, but if you have the customer supporting you, then there's nothing they can do.
Right. And the thing that, the reason I asked that question that way, and the answer was great, is that you do have a certain amount of sales that goes on throughout the process because you're dealing with the insurance companies, you're dealing with the customer. And the nice thing about this workshop is it covers both. And
Yeah. If I could just share something along what Cassey just said.
Sure.
One of the things she shared with me, which really helped me out, my Hyundai Sonata was hit on the left front by a suicidal deer. And I have Allstate, and Allstate said, we're going to use used parts, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't want used parts. And the body shop called me, said, insurance says they'll only do used parts because it's technically OE. And Cassey brought up an article from one of the heads of Allstate saying at a conference that if the body shop says it, we're going to tell them used, but if the customer requests it, we'll always go with new OE. So I showed it to the body shop. Body shop told me, hey, here's what to do. I called Allstate and they're like, of course we'll give you OE parts, and boom, instant OE parts, all new on my car.
Well,
That's the power of this kind of stuff. That's why I just love these kind of workshops, because they just, they empower body shops to take care of customers the way customers deserve to be delivered.
We have to remember a body shop is an expense to an insurance company. They have to pay for a rental car. They would rather not have to pay the expenses that the body shop has to incur. So that's why wowing the customers is important. It's critical for the survival of a body shop.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask, let me ask Shawn, in the workshop, how much did the interaction with other shop owners on these subjects that we've been talking about help?
Oh yeah, that's huge in every course you have. Just being able to talk to them about whatever problems you're having. I mean, that's, yeah, and just to hear the different stories, and these are people that are doing it and fighting the fight every day with you. Yeah, that's a huge aspect. It's not just watching something on YouTube or trying to learn that way. It's you're talking to, in any given room or any class or whatever, you probably have hundreds of years of experience sitting there with and everybody's willing to help everyone, I would think. I've had great experience actually being in the classes.
Awesome. All right, and now let's talk a little bit about building a referral program, which I know is something that's taught in the class, because that very much is part of the estimator's job, is getting referrals and getting the customers out there talking about the shop. Shawn, just tell us a little bit about how your shop does in terms of referrals and reviews and things like that.
We were doing, when I took the class, we started doing the referral cards. Every time that someone would pick up their car, we would have a folder for them with the warranty and with cards that they can give to their friends to get money off. And we did have success with that. I honestly, I haven't been great at that lately. I kind of, a few years ago, for some reason, like things fall off, and I haven't been doing that. I think what happened was we kind of changed it to where we sent out thank you cards, and then we did the referral cards and the thank you cards. And when I lost my office person, we've been behind on the thank you card. So, as of the last 6 months or so, we haven't been really great at that. But we did have people coming in with the cards and saying, hey, so and so gave me this, and I was sending out gift cards to those people that gave it, and so it did provide a certain amount of business.
Great. And Cassey, talk about getting reviews and how important that is for the shops and the estimators, or the front desk person's role in that part of the process. I know that's a part of the class as well. So let's
Hey,
talk
can I
about that
jump
a
in here
little
just
bit.
for one
Yeah,
second,
absolutely.
along with that? Because one of the things Cassey was sharing with me is her incredible passion for helping the business owners. Because, ultimately, what Cassey teaches is if you take care of the customer, not just the car, that's where those referrals come from. Cassey, can you share some of just you light up a room when you start to teach. Can you share some of just your intense passion for helping these business owners?
Well, one thing about collision versus general repair, it's a lot harder to be profitable. And you are at the whim of the insurance companies, and you don't have a consistent flow of customers. So you really have to make yourself at the forefront with your competition. So whether it be from the moment when the customer enters the door, or how you do your marketing, whether it be referrals or even internet marketing, believe it or not, and Shawn participates with Google Ads and has had a lot of success tracking his new leads and new customers through it. So there's different avenues to put yourself out there. Please know that a customer, when they get in an accident, the first thing they're doing is Googling body shops and who has the best reviews, probably more so than general repair, because of the kind of work and repair that they need, and probably because of the situation it leaves them in, needing a car back right away, being without a car, etc. So I do have a lot of passion, a lot of, I don't want to say empathy, because these are some strong people who decided to get into the industry for a reason and have been very successful. But I really find it intriguing how they manage to manage. And so, I really respect it, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. So that's probably where my passion starts. And it's really growing the more that I get involved and the more I hear stories like I do from Shawn.
Great. Looks like we lost Matt. So all of this should add up to the shop getting a flow of customers and being able to capture a higher percentage of those customers because of how they treat their customers. Mm-hmm. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
All right. It looks like we're losing Cassey too. Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. It looked like you froze up for a second. I was not sure. All right. Great. So if your shop needs to improve in the area of capturing business, you need a better flow of business, then you should check out our sales training for collision shops. Cassey's delivering the workshop this coming week. And if you're a Drive client, sign up. If you're not a Drive client, give us a call and get your people trained to handle customers well, capture that business, and run a more profitable shop. You might have noticed that behind me is a big notification about our expo coming up in August, the 25th through the 28th, and registration is open. So if you haven't registered for the expo, There is a link in the chat, and just go ahead and click that link and get registered for the expo. Shawn, you're coming to the expo, right?
I'm registered. I got my hotel and I'm all ready to go.
And I know you've been to previous expos. What's exciting? What excites you about this expo?
Just seeing all the business owners and having that networking opportunity, and also not just business networking, but just friendships that we've built over the years. And it's just a great time. You have fun, you have learning, food. I mean, it's just the whole thing is we've really missed it in the past couple of years. I'll say that.
I will agree with that 100%, because as Drive employees, we've missed it too. Because one of the things we've always liked doing is having that weekend to really connect up with our clients, and help facilitate those things. And it's going to be a fun time. So if you're thinking about going, just register and come. It will be more than worth the time and effort, and it'll be a lot of fun. And we're pretty much out of time. So Cassey, Shawn, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you next Friday.
Thank you. Thanks, Shawn. Thanks, Chris.
Thank